What a week 6 we had in college football, folks, and we're moving into week number 7, and we've got a heck of a week coming up for us here in week number 7. If you love college football, we're going to find out there's going to be some shakeup for sure, and definitely everybody's top 25, but you know, we like to roll with the baker's dozen here at Todd Talks College Football, and we're going to break into that here in just a second. But I just wanted to thank all the people out there who are watching the videos. Don't forget, if you can, subscribe to the channel, like the videos. It's really important. I really appreciate what you're doing out there. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to have a major change at the top of the poll, folks. That's right. I am going to take the Miami Hurricanes from number 2 to number 1. It just makes sense based on the fact that they currently have 3 ranked wins over teams in the top 25 by the AP, and that is pretty damn impressive. Plus, they played a Florida team who I've been telling you all year, I think this defense is one of the best in the country, so we're going to give it up and put the Miami Hurricanes here in the number 1 spot this week. No disrespect to Ohio State. It just is a matter of, look, we're looking at what's going on, and right now, by just a smidgen, the Miami Hurricanes deserve to be the number 1 team. And that brings us to number 2, and that would be the Ohio State Buckeyes. Look, the Ohio State Buckeyes in Oklahoma have the 2 best defenses in the country right now, and Miami is a damn close third there. So I'm going to put it on the Ohio State Buckeyes defense and a young Julian Sayin getting his footing. And boy, the playmakers like Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are just going to get bigger and better as the season goes on. And we are going to see a real interesting game this week for Ohio State as they travel on the road to Illinois. This was one of my hiccup games for Ohio State at the beginning of the season. I felt like one of the road games between Illinois and Washington was going to be a challenge, real challenging. I thought it might be Washington. It could be Illinois. We're going to find out on Saturday, but that's a really strong matchup there for the Ohio State Buckeyes traveling on the road here to Illinois. All right, the number 3 team in the country here in the Baker's Dozen poll is going to be the same as last week, and that is the Oregon Ducks. Yes, the Oregon Ducks deserve to be number 3 here. I think they got a lot of talent. They have a lot of playmakers on this team, and Dante Moore is just getting better and better and better. And they have Indiana rolling into town, which I'll tell you in just a second where Indiana's ranked. So this is going to be a real strong matchup to see exactly how good the Ducks are. Can they handle Indiana? I'm really interested in this game. I wish this thing was a night game, but we're going to get to watch it at 3:30, and it'll be real interesting to see how the Oregon Ducks handle that pretty solid defensive line from Indiana. So it's going to be exciting stuff. In the number 4 spot, we're going to keep Ole Miss here. Did nothing deserve to lose a spot here by any means. Ole Miss has got Washington State coming in this weekend. Not going to be a pretty impressive game, but I expect them to take care of business in a big way against Washington State and see where they go from there in the next few weeks. All right. I'm going to put Indiana here at number 5. I had them at number 5 last week. I'm going to keep them here. Obviously, they're either going to move way up or drop down some after this game against Oregon on Saturday. So that's going to be exciting to see. We just talked about that. I'm going to put Texas A&M up a spot this week and jump Oklahoma from last week. I had Oklahoma at 6. I'm putting Texas A&M at 6 this week. I felt Mississippi State was going to be a challenging game, and they came out and they dominated that game pretty well, especially in the second half. And they put their foot down on a Mississippi State team that's much improved. So, and Oklahoma didn't do really anything to drop down. They beat the Kent State 44-0. So that, it is what it is. Kent State's not a good football team, but we're going to find out exactly about Oklahoma this week when they play a Texas team who's reeling off that loss to Florida last week. So we're going to see if they can fix anything with that football team. And if Oklahoma goes out and destroys them, could be the end there for old Arch Manning. And let me tell you, like I told you a few minutes ago, Oklahoma's defense is no joke, man. This is either the number 1 or number 2 defense, depending on how we want to look at it, with Ohio State being the opposite one there. So Oklahoma at 7. We're going to keep Alabama at 8. They're on the road at Mizzou this week, coming off of that beat down really of Vanderbilt. The game wasn't really as close as 30-14, but whatever. Alabama is going to have a tough road game here against Mizzou. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Alabama. I think they can take care of business here, but Mizzou is definitely an up-and-comer here in the SEC this season and has a real chance to jump into the Baker's Dozen with the win over Alabama. Not a real chance. They will make the chance to do that. All right, we're going to keep Georgia here at number 9, and they're going to be heading down to the oldest rivalry in the South, and that's right to the Auburn Tigers. And Auburn, folks, if you haven't seen them, you got to play a sloppy, messy game to beat this team, and Georgia's going to have to go down there, and it's going to be challenging for them. I got a feeling, not that Auburn's great, but man, they sure make you play to their level, and that's not a kind of situation you want to be in on the road down there in Auburn. So we're going to see exactly how good Georgia is this week. Coming in at number 10, they're not moving anywhere. They're staying the same, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm really high on Tennessee, but they got a sneaky Arkansas rolling in down there in Knoxville, and let me tell you, this could be a real sneaky game here for Tennessee because we know we got the coach let go. We got the new coach coming in. We all love what's going on there at Arkansas with the new guy. So we're going to find out if old Bobby can get this team ready to go and roll in to Knoxville and pull off the upset against the Volunteers. It's going to be real interesting to see. We saw what happened last week with UCLA in a coaching change. Could Arkansas pull off a similar feat? We're going to find out. I'm going to keep LSU at number 11. They have a tricky South Carolina team to play this weekend down there in Death Valley. I don't know that South Carolina has the skill set to beat LSU, but we're going to find out. There's still a sneaky team here, and this is the kind of team that could make an upset here and upset LSU. We're going to find out. I don't think so, but who knows? We're going to see. I'm moving Texas Tech up a couple spots. Last week, they were in my cooking something up crew at basically 14th in the poll. I'm going to move them up to number 12 here. They've got a real not so challenging game this week with Kansas, although it could be challenging. I'm expecting them to dominate Kansas this week. So I'm going to keep and move up Texas Tech into the number 12 spot this week in the Baker's Dozen poll. And I'm going to finish out the Baker's Dozen poll with the same team it was last week, and that's the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. Look, I really like what Georgia Tech's doing. Yes, they got sneaky by over there in Wake Forest, but I think this team has a lot of potential, and they got a schedule that's very beneficial for them. So I'm going to go, and they got Virginia Tech this week, so shouldn't be a problem for Georgia Tech beating the Virginia Tech Hokies here in week number 7. Okay, let's talk about the cooking something up, and we definitely have some moves in this group here, and it's going to start with the Missouri Tigers being the number 1 team in the cooking something up crowd, and that is interesting because they have Alabama coming in, like we talked about earlier, down there or up there into Missouri, and we're going to see exactly how good Missouri is. Their running back is very talented. Obviously, the transfer from Penn State at quarterback is very, very interesting because this is going to be a real heartbreaker for Penn State fans if all of a sudden old Boo Boo, whatever his name is exactly, is going to be playing against Alabama. And if Missouri beats Alabama, the Penn State fans are going to go nuts, especially if somehow Drew Allar looks inefficient again against a team like Northwestern. So we're going to find out exactly how good Missouri is. I also put Michigan up here, so basically the 15th team in the country. They got a real big game on the road at USC this week. We'll see how good their defense really is against one of the top offenses in the country and the Trojans. And the Trojans' defense is better than what we might think here. I know they've lost that game against Illinois, but they're coming back on at home off of, I think, a bye week, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to see exactly how good Michigan is here on the road at USC. I got Illinois in this group here. They've got Ohio State coming in, so they've got a real big opportunity to make some noise and jump up into the Baker's Dozen. I also have BYU. I really like what I've been seeing out of BYU. They've got a challenging game going down to Arizona. Arizona is a pretty good football team this year. If you haven't watched them, Noah, the quarterback's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the country. So we're going to see if BYU can get that win on the road at Arizona. It's going to be a challenge. And then Arizona State to round out my cooking something up crew. And they got a challenging game going on the road at Utah. So this is a big, big week, a big shake-up week. We're going to see some SEC teams kind of fill in their spots where they're going to be. We're going to see some shake-up in the Big Ten, obviously, because we're going to have, if Ohio State beats Illinois, that's pretty much going to knock Illinois out of the playoff hunt, really. And the Big Ten, we're going to see who's better between Oregon and Indiana. That's going to be real exciting to see. We're going to see if Alabama can go onto the road at a place like Missouri, which isn't your typical SEC town, and win that game. We're going to find out if, Georgia's for real, heading on the road to a tough game in Auburn, even though, Auburn's not a great football team, but they definitely are sneaky good enough to beat a Georgia team at home in just the right environment. Oklahoma on the road at Texas, and Texas A&M against Florida. We're going to really, really, really learn about what is going to happen here as we move into week 8 and beyond with the shakeup that we're going to see here in week number 7. So that's what we got there for the Baker's Dozen and the cooking something up. We still got the G5 representative. That'd be the Little Six group. And I'm going right now with Memphis just because the Memphis has the quality win. But I really still like Navy, even though they had a tussle with Air Force last week, which is to be expected in a service game like that. And also, we still got USF, still got Tulane sneaking around down there. And, I really do think the American Conference is going to put out the group of 5 Little Six contender for the playoffs. So we're going to find out. So at this point, I think Memphis is probably the leader in the clubhouse, but I'm still rooting for the Navy midshipmen to get in there. All right. There's our Baker's Dozen poll here for week number 7. I hope you enjoyed it. You'll see the weekly predictor show on Thursday. And then obviously we're going to recap this crazy week number 7 on Sunday with the 5 thoughts on week 7 in college football. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell. It'll tell you exactly when I post something. And then you can follow along. And hopefully you'll know that we know what we're talking about here at Todd Talks College Football. So thanks again. And remember, gather around in ALTT.